Welcome back to another episode of the What We're Watching podcast. I'm Megan.
And I'm Jenny, and today we're talking about Shrek.
This is a classic of our friendship for some reason.
I know, we've said this before, but one of the only pictures we have together is us with Shrek ears on.
Which is absurd, because we've spent so much time together. But you know when you just don't take pictures when you're hanging out? Because you're just having a good time, so...
I'm never someone who takes pictures anytime, ever. It's something I wish I was better at because I just don't capture the memories while I'm making them.
You're just very present. That's positive.
Yeah, maybe. But I love the Shrek picture that we have. Do you want to tell them why?
Yes, one of our friends had his birthday party at a Shrek viewing at Red Rocks last year? 2 years ago?
I think it was last year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because I was pregnant. I was pregnant, but I hadn't announced it yet. So I was wearing this like oversized shirt. You guys can zoom in on the picture. We'll post it.
Yeah, I didn't know yet, right? No. I don't think anyone knew.
I don't think
Just
so.
your family. Okay.
Yeah.
Crazy. I think you announced soon after that, though.
I think so, yeah. Crazy.
It was so much fun seeing Shrek with that many people. And it was a ton of people our age. Kids were there too, and I think everyone was just quoting the movie or singing the songs.
It felt like when you used to go to a movie for like a midnight premiere, because everybody was just like amped to be there, and people were like wearing themed outfits, and like people were wearing Shrek ears and Shrek hats, and like you said, people were saying the quotes out loud together in unison, or like people were like booing at certain things. It was just amazing. It was so fun. I feel like that's why we love the movies, like going to the movies, getting to see it with other people. And that atmosphere doesn't exist a lot anymore. So it was really cool.
And there were like 8,000 people there. So it was a big event.
Fully packed Red Rocks. I think we drove together and we got there kind of close to the showing time, thinking that it wasn't going to be as popular as it was, and we parked at the very, very back, and it was packed. Like every seat was taken. We were very lucky that our friends got there early and saved us seats.
The people love Shrek, and they love Shrek more than any other concert I've ever been to at Red Rocks.
Absolutely.
In this episode, we're talking about how Shrek saved Dreamworks, the cast switch-ups that happened halfway through the movie, Mike Myers' $4 million accent, who Cameron Diaz went to high school with, which will surprise you, and the real-life Disney beef that inspired Lord Farquaad.
That is such a good teaser. I'm so excited.
I got so many good nuggets this time.
Quick shout out to our listeners for some amazing comments they left on Spotify last week. Thank you guys. We love interacting with you, reading your comments, reading your reviews. It means so much.
Francesca left a comment that says, "Love your podcast. It's the perfect nostalgic comfort food, just like the early 2000s movies you guys often talk about. Always makes me smile." This makes me smile.
That's so nice.
We're both cheesing so hard right now.
I know. The next comment is from Sophie, and they said, "I love the recap part. It's like being read a story. Love listening to quiet my mind and or fall asleep." Guys, this is the biggest compliment when you tell us that.
Seriously. I love that we're a comfort podcast for some of you. And thank you both for leaving these comments. So sweet.
I'm also so happy to hear that you like the recap part.
Thank goodness.
We've mentioned this a few times that we never know if the recap part is exciting to you guys or if it's boring or if you skip it. So to know that you like it, because we've got a few comments recently saying that you like listening to it because it's like watching the movie, but just the audio part. And that makes us very happy. Because we do put a lot of time and effort into those. So we love that you guys appreciate it.
Yeah, I will say that the recapping part is probably what takes us longer than anything. Like, not the research. No, it's the outlining of the movie.
Okay, so the logline for Shrek is, "Once upon a time, in a faraway swamp, there lived an ogre named Shrek, whose precious solitude is suddenly shattered by an invasion of annoying fairy tale characters. They were all banished from their kingdom by the evil Lord Farquaad. Determined to save their home, not to mention his, Shrek cuts a deal with Farquaad and sets out to rescue Princess Fiona to be Farquaad's bride. Rescuing the princess may be small compared to her deep, dark secret." Dun dun dun.
I feel like Shrek is so iconic, and it's such a silly movie, and it's a comedy, and it's animated, so you wouldn't think that it fits in this like nostalgic rom-com genre that we've kind of found ourselves in with this podcast. But this movie shaped me and so many of us.
Yeah. But yeah, weirdly, it does fit exactly right because it was like such a popular movie in our childhood and everybody still loves it. And it does still hold up. And it's so funny. And it's one of those you can still watch and people our age will be excited to watch it, which is not the case for a lot of the movies we talk about.
That is the truth. Yeah. There's no cringe in it like there is with some other stuff from this time. It's just so good. Have you seen the people who do Shrek bachelorette parties?
No.
This is hilarious. Everyone will dress up in like a different Shrek character costume. Fairy godmother, who's not in this movie, but I wish she was. Fiona, Shrek, whatever. And I'm trying to remember some of the like puns that they'll do. There was like last night in the swamp or something like that.
Oh
like,
my gosh.
You have to look on TikTok and find these because they are so funny to watch.
I'm about to get lost in Shrek talk. I can't wait.
I'm probably just on wedding TikTok anyway, so that's how I see them, but it cracks me up every time.
It's true. I hope I see a Shrek bachelorette party one day out and about. Like, you know how like you'll be driving down the road and you'll see like a group of girls, they're all dressed the same or they have the wigs on or something, like walking into a bar sometimes. I hope I see a group of Shrek bachelorettes. That's so fun.
I want Lord Farquaad to come in.
Yeah. Or the like wolf grandma.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Yes.
Love it. Okay, so you can picture it.
Absolutely.
Speaking of iconic, I feel like Lord Farquaad is a character who is mentioned in pop culture all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly, I hear people say that they have a Lord Farquaad haircut or they don't want a Lord Farquaad haircut. I've heard you say this before.
Yes. I have dark hair and I love the idea of just like a, you know, the hot girl hair right now I feel like is just like a clean bob, just like a blunt. That's what I'm looking for, like a blunt, short bob. But would I look like Lord Farquaad? Maybe. And that is a risk I can't take.
I was thinking about it while watching the movie, though. I was like, his hair, it's just short, dark hair. There's nothing, I don't know why he became known for this hair, you know?
It's just such a striking look that you don't see a lot in animated males, you know?
Yeah.
He just is a whole vibe, you know? He's like such a specific look. I would love to watch like a doc or something on the people that designed all of these characters because they're all like Shrek. Mostly, I guess, Shrek and Lord Farquaad, but really all of them. Like, I'm thinking especially into season two, into Shrek 2, when you get like the parents and the fairy godmother, like you said, like everybody's very distinct and memorable, you know? They did a really good job.
Yeah, I think they did too. So Shrek came out in 2001. It's regarded as one of the most influential animated films of the 2000s and one of the greatest animated films ever made. Which I agree.
I agree too.
It's loosely based on a children's picture book called Shrek! By William Steig that was published in 1990. I included a little picture for Megan to see, but you all should Google it.
It looks like a kindergarten drawing.
Yeah.
It's cute.
But his art style is definitely like that kind of kid-like drawing. Okay, I thought this was interesting. Steven Spielberg purchased the rights for the book in 1991, and he was planning to produce a 2D animation film that was going to star Bill Murray as Shrek and Steve Martin as Donkey.
Oh, we love Steve Martin.
I just can't imagine the movie with them, though.
No.
It'd be so different.
Mm-hmm.
But then DreamWorks ended up purchasing the rights from Spielberg, and they started development in 1995. The author, William Steig, said that he liked the movie, and it dramatically increased sales of his book, which I guess is why he liked it. Love that.
Love hearing that he liked it. I feel like we talk about so many authors that hate the movie adaptation, so that's fun.
Yeah, if you want to learn more about that, you should check out our Ella Enchanted episode that we did recently.
Mm-hmm.
And that movie basically is Shrek, but like our girly rom-com version.
Mm-hmm.
So it is nice to hear that this author actually liked the adaptation. He said, "It's vulgar, it's disgusting, and I love it."
Incredible.
Shrek actually did so well that it saved DreamWorks animation, and it's the reason that it still exists today.
Wow, that's huge. DreamWorks did How to Train Your Dragon, I'm pretty sure. The Minions, Despicable Me. They've had a lot of big hits since then.
And I think what they had done before Shrek was the movie Ants. Do you remember that one?
Mm-mm.
If you look it up, you might recognize it. A Bug's Life and Ants are very similar movies to me, but Ants is like the more Shrek-style humor, I would say.
Okay.
I think a lot of the people who worked on Ants went to work on Shrek after, which is kind of why they have the same vibe.
Got it.
Okay, here's where things are a little interesting about casting Shrek. It was actually a whole to-do. Nick Cage was originally offered the role of Shrek, but he turned it down because he didn't want to look like an ogre. And I'm like, it's animated.
It's animated, bro. That's really funny. I can totally see them reading the script and saying, like, you know who would be perfect for this? Nicolas Cage. I can see that.
He said, "When you're drawn, in a way it says more about how children are going to see you than anything else. And I so care about that." And I think he had kids and he didn't want his kids to view him as an ogre. I don't know.
Okay, interesting. I guess.
I'm also like, I don't look at Shrek and think, oh, Mike Myers.
No,
You
I don't
know?
either. But is that because we. Is that because we knew Shrek before?
Maybe.
I don't know. Interesting.
He just didn't want to be aligned with an ogre. It's fine, I
Yeah.
guess.
I guess.
So, who they did end up casting was not Mike Myers. It was Chris Farley from SNL.
Okay.
And I could see that he would be a really good Shrek, just with his sense of humor. But he died in 1997 before they finished production. And almost all of his lines were already recorded. He only had about 5 days left of filming.
Whoa.
I know.
Oh my gosh. So they were actually almost done. Wow. Today, if that happened, they would just use AI to finish it.
Oh, you're so right. They would.
They had so much recording of his voice. Wow, that's really sad.
Yeah. And they didn't want to scrap it entirely. They actually asked his brother John to finish up the rest of it, but he refused, which honestly, I understand.
Of course. Wow. I have never heard that before.
Me neither.
Okay, so then how did they get Mike Myers? Are we going to talk about it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Mike Myers, who ended up playing Shrek, was hired to replace Chris Farley, and he insisted on a complete rewrite of the script to leave no traces of Farley's version of Shrek.
What? You're telling me there's an entire scrapped Shrek script and recorded voice? I need that as an audiobook, like, immediately.
I think that it did get leaked. Some of Chris Farley's voice of Shrek somewhere on the internet. I haven't found it, but if you guys do, send it to us.
Yeah, I would love to hear some clips of that. Again, find me on Shrek Talk after this recording.
We'll all be on Shrek Talk with you. Mike Myers said he wanted to voice the character for 2 reasons. He said, quote, "I wanted the opportunity to work with DreamWorks CEO Jeffrey Katzenberg, and the book is a great story about accepting yourself for who you are." I thought that was sweet. In February of 2000, a rough cut of the movie was shown to Mike Myers, and he asked to re-record all of his lines with a Scottish accent. The Scottish accent that Shrek has.
Okay. There's multiple versions of this movie that are just left on the cutting room floor.
Absolutely.
Thanks to Mike Myers.
Yeah.
Wow.
So after the movie was already basically done, Mike Myers was like, wait, you know, it would be great
if he had
a Scottish accent.
That's so crazy because that is the most iconic thing about the whole movie, I think, is like Shrek's voice makes it. And so to think that for so long in the production process, that voice was not part of the project at all is wild.
I can't even imagine it.
How did he come up with that? How was he like, you know what this needs? I know exactly what this needs. A Scottish accent. Let me show it to you.
Let me re-record the entire thing.
Wow.
And I'm surprised anyone would say yes to that after they already had it. They're probably like, nope, we got it. We're good. But he's Mike Myers.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. All of this, I feel like, speaks to Mike Myers' star power.
Mm-hmm. I guess he also tried a Canadian accent and, I might be saying this wrong, a Lothar of the Hill People accent. And that is actually based on a Mike Myers sketch from SNL that always came back up. So some of you may be familiar with it. I am not.
Mm-mm.
But yeah, because people knew him for it, he was like, why don't I try that one too? Katzenberg said that the Scottish accent was so good that, quote, we took $4 million worth of animation out and did it again. Can you believe that?
No, I cannot. I cannot. I actually can't believe any of the story. Any part of this is crazy.
Like it's fake.
Again, I need a doc on the behind the scenes of making Shrek. I wish they had that.
Maybe they do. I didn't find one, but I mean, it's an iconic movie.
I doubt it. Were they making behind the scenes docs at this time? Maybe on the DVD. I wonder if somewhere on the DVD there's like a director's commentary or something that mentions it.
And I feel like the DVDs were iconic because they had deleted scenes.
Mm-hmm. That was my favorite part.
Oh, do you remember the American Idol one from Shrek 2?
Yes. Yes.
DVDs, I miss them.
Mm-hmm.
I guess because they swapped his accent to be Scottish, there were new jokes and gags that they used in the movie and came up with because of it.
Mm.
So the movie probably ended up getting funnier for it. They had more time.
For sure. And I'm sure they had to redo a lot of the animation because he was speaking differently.
Mm-hmm.
So like the cadence would be different. So then their mouths would have to move differently. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, I think they had to redo all of the animation, which is nuts.
Wild.
Anyway, to back up a little bit, you know Mike Myers from Austin Powers, The Cat in the Hat, Wayne's World, and a bunch of other things, but I feel like those are his like main three in my head.
What is the scary one?
Oh no, I don't know.
Is it Halloween? You know, the Mike Myers mask. Everyone refers to it as the Mike Myers mask.
Wait, I thought that his name just was Michael Myers in the movie.
Oh my God, no, I think you're right. I don't think that's Mike Myers, the actor.
I've never seen it. I don't know.
Hold on.
Yeah, double check for us.
You are correct. Michael Myers, the character in Halloween, has been played by 3 actors, none of which are Mike Myers.
Does it say that?
Nope. That's just me. Okay. This is a good learning moment.
I'm Googling it now too. This is so funny. So many people have had this confusion.
Well, because what are the odds? There is a famous Mike Myers and a famous Michael Myers.
There's a Reddit discussion called Michael Myers versus Mike Myers. Who would win?
That makes me feel better.
They're saying Shrek would.
For sure. Now I need to see what Mike Myers looks like. Yeah.
I can see.
Mike Myers looks like the mask. Sorry.
He kind of does. No, he kind of does. It's the hair too.
Okay. Anyway.
Mike Myers is Canadian. I didn't know that. He was on SNL, Saturday Night Live, from 1989 to 1995. So for a pretty long time. And I think that's how most people know him.
That is a pretty long time. Wow, yeah.
And he's been married to artist Kelly Tisdale since 2010. And they have 3 kids.
Wow. So he wasn't afraid of being an ogre to his kids.
Exactly.
I guess the kids came after, but still.
Can you imagine your dad being Shrek and like being able to do the accent?
No, it'd be incredible.
So that's the Mike Myers of it all.
Now let's talk about Eddie Murphy, who of course plays Donkey.
The best character.
Donkey?
Wow, great.
I wish I could
Scottish
do it.
accent.
Thank you.
Eddie Murphy is from Beverly Hills Cop, Norbit, The Nutty Professor, Dr. Dolittle, Daddy Daycare, Dreamgirls. I always forget, but he's Mushu in Mulan.
Always forget.
And many, many more things. You know Eddie Murphy. I didn't know a lot about his personal life, though, so I thought we should dive in a little bit. He grew up in New York, and his mom was a telephone operator. His dad was a police officer and an amateur comedian, which makes sense because then Eddie Murphy became a comedian.
Mm-hmm.
But this is really sad. His father died when he was 8 years old, and he said, "My mother and father broke up when I was 3, and he died when I was 8, so I have very dim memories. He was a victim of the Murphy charm. A woman stabbed my father. I never got all the logistics. It was supposed to be one of those crimes of passion. If I can't have you, no one else will kind of deal."
Whoa.
Can you believe that? Awful.
There's so much there. Wow.
Yeah.
Like, devastating that his parents split up when he was so young, and that his father died when he was so young, and his father was murdered.
In a crime of passion.
In a crime of passion. That's... wow.
Yeah. Really
Wow.
sad.
Yeah.
It gets a little bit worse. So his mom got really sick. I didn't see what kind of sickness she had. And he and his brother had to live in foster care for a year while she was ill.
Wow.
And he says that this was really influential in developing his sense of humor. So he kind of credits this to how he's the way that he is.
Wow.
But thankfully, he did go back to his mom after that.
Good. Okay, good. Ugh. That's so hard. That's a lot of hardship for a kid.
Yeah. Now, similar to Mike Myers, he was also a cast member on SNL, but he was before Mike. He was from 1980 to 1984.
Wow. SNL All-Star Cast.
I know.
Love it.
I know, and they wanted Chris Farley too, so it was just, this was supposed to be the SNL movie, you know?
Yeah, I love that. I feel like that's such a big credit to why it did so well. The fact that they wanted to cast like a famous comedian for this role specifically, and then it sounds like they really built the role around the person that they cast, so that's really cool.
Yeah, you know who else would have been an interesting comedian for the role of Shrek? Jim Carrey.
Totally.
I don't know if he was considered, but I feel like he's that same kind of vibe.
Definitely. I could totally see that, yeah. Okay, let's talk about everyone's favorite, Princess Fiona, played by Cameron Diaz.
She's from Charlie's Angels, The Holiday, There's Something About Mary, My Best Friend's Wedding, Bad Teacher, My Sister's Keeper, Vanilla Sky, What to Expect When You're Expecting, a bunch of other things. And we have episodes on The Holiday and What to Expect When You're Expecting if you want some more info on her. But I found a mix of old and new stuff, I guess. We said this before, but her film debut was in The Mask with Jim Carrey, speaking of, in 1994 when she was 21 years old.
I don't know why I thought she was younger when she started acting.
Yeah, she really wasn't. She did become a model when she was 16, and she was in a bunch of magazine ads for Levi's and Calvin Klein. So you may have seen her in magazines. Well, we probably didn't, because I think that was before our time, but
she would have been famous younger, so that makes sense.
Yeah, this is interesting though. The next year, so after she became a model when she was 16, when she was 17, she was featured on the cover of 17 magazine, but she wasn't famous. She wasn't known. They just like picked her for the cover.
I feel like she has that just like it factor sparkliness, you know?
Yeah, and the cover of 17 magazine that she was on, she's wearing an American flag kind of shirt with American flag earrings, and she really does have this like all-American look.
The blonde hair, the blue eyes, the huge
big smile.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I thought that was really interesting.
She's a cutie.
Some people may have had the magazine before they knew who she was. Okay, are you ready to find out who she went to high school with?
Tell me.
She and Snoop Dogg went to high school together.
That is the last person that I thought you were going to say. Does that mean they're the same age?
Yeah, they're only 1 year apart.
I guess that makes sense. Wow, that's
fun.
To
me, I guess because I've been seeing him with Martha Stewart lately, and he's like a proud grandpa now, and he has a show for kids. I just kind of...
He is a grandpa now?
Yeah, he's a grandpa.
How old is Cameron Diaz?
52 and 53 are their ages.
Okay, so they're young. Okay. He's just a younger grandpa.
Yeah, but I guess like to me, I was thinking he was maybe like 10 years older than her, like in his 60s or something.
I would have thought that too, yeah.
And she always feels younger to me than she is too, so I thought that was crazy they went to school together.
Wow, I wonder if they knew each other.
Who knows?
Cool.
She's married to Benji Madden, and they have 2 kids. And I didn't know this, but she technically retired from acting after doing the 2014 Annie with Jamie Foxx.
I did not even remember that she was in that.
I forgot to. I think she's Miss Hannigan.
Okay.
Since then, she came out with 2 health books called The Body Book and The Longevity Book, which you may have seen before. And she invests in a lot of health and biotech startups, so she's really into that.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, she has a wine company, which we've talked about before many times. But she returned to acting to do Back in Action with Jamie Foxx again, which came out this year.
Forgot about that. Wow, her and Jamie Foxx.
I guess they're a thing, yeah. I love it when actors love working with each other and they do it again and again. It's the best.
Yeah.
She's currently working on a movie called Outcome that stars Keanu Reeves, Jonah Hill, Laverne Cox, and David Spade.
Wow, stacked.
And she'll be Fiona in Shrek 5. So she's back in action. She's acting again.
Shrek 5?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
We'll get into it.
Okay. We'll get there. Okay.
No, I can't believe there are that many too. I think I stopped around Shrek the Third, so.
Yeah.
Okay, this isn't related to Cameron Diaz, but it's related to the character of Fiona. Janine Garofalo, who's the voice of the French chef lady in Ratatouille.
Okay.
I can picture the animated version of her perfectly.
Also sort of has a Lord Farquaad haircut, but
Oh my
hers
God.
looks chic. Hers looks like the hot girl hair right now.
But if she didn't style it correctly, easily Lord Farquaad hair.
It's a fine line.
It is a fine line. Well, she was the original voice of Fiona with Chris Farley as Shrek, but she was fired.
What? You're telling me there was also an original Fiona that was not Cameron Diaz.
Mm-hmm.
What a shift to go from the French lady to Cameron Diaz.
I know. She said, I was never told why. I assume because I sound like a man sometimes. I don't know why. And then she said, nobody told me, but the movie didn't do anything, so who cares? What do you mean the movie didn't do anything?
Didn't do anything. It's like one of the most famous animated movies of all time. Wow. I need to see this lady in action. I need to watch some interviews of her or something.
I know.
This tells me that she's very interesting.
I'm just imagining Ratatouille. That's all I can think of. So,
okay, last but not least, we have to talk about John Lithgow, who plays Lord Farquaad. Can I just say, I didn't know that this was him until I was halfway through watching the movie this time. And I just I was looking at something else. So I was just listening for a second. And I was just like, oh my God, I think that's John Lithgow. And then all I could do was picture him the whole time.
You did your Home Depot commercial thing where you
I think this
knew
is
that Josh Lucas.
Hidden talent of mine.
You just have to close your eyes and then you'll imagine who the
I need
actor
to
is.
get Brian to test me on some people or something.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a skill. That's funny because I feel like he doesn't look like Lord Farquaad at all. So there's nothing in my brain that would connect the two of them. So I'm impressed that you did. He's from The World According to Garp, Terms of Endearment, Footloose, Interstellar, Raising Cain, Leap Year. Am I forgetting anything major?
Probably, but not that I can think of.
It's funny that he plays Lord Farquaad because he's 6'4".
Whoa.
He's so tall.
Whoa.
He said,
that's really funny.
Yeah. He said, quote, I always said I would never play anyone short, and then came Shrek's Lord Farquaad.
I cannot with these men saying, I didn't want to be associated with an ogre. I swore I would never play anyone short. The male ego is fragile.
I know.
Some people. Also, the reason that I said that we're probably missing something is because, again, one of my parents this week was like, by the way, that guy that you mentioned in this episode, he's famous for blah, blah, blah. I'm like, there's always something,
Anytime there's an actor over the age of 70, we get it so wrong.
Yep. Including this, so that's okay.
Forgive us and tell us what we missed.
Yeah, I invite you now to leave a comment on Spotify, but please frame it positively. I need it in PIP format. Positive, improvement, positive. Thanks, Dad.
So the actors for Shrek never actually worked together. They all did their lines individually. I don't know how common that is for voice acting. I imagine pretty common.
I think it's pretty common, yeah, that they don't actually get together.
I would hate that. John said that as much as he enjoyed playing Farquaad, he was disappointed that he didn't get to work directly with the other actors, which I thought was fair.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, Alan Rickman almost voiced Farquaad, but then he chose to play Snape in Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone instead.
What a dilemma. You have Harry Potter or Shrek. It completely makes sense that you would choose Harry Potter, given the success of the books. But wow.
Yeah.
The options are amazing.
But he's like so famous to our generation from Harry Potter. So
I can't imagine if he wasn't in Harry Potter, but I'm just like, that just like speaks to his career, that those were his options that he was choosing between, The like alternative cast of this movie is insane.
I know, I agree. It's kind of ironic that Alan Rickman almost played Farquaad because John Lithgow has been cast as Dumbledore in the new Harry Potter HBO series.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I don't know how I feel about it either, because I know they're going to do his makeup and they're going to give him a big long beard and the little spectacles and stuff, but he doesn't have the warm.
No, I feel like
Not my Dumbledore.
he's not my Dumbledore. To be fair though, I feel like the Dumbledore in the movies, in like this, when did the first Dumbledore die? Was he only in the first one or the second?
He was in the first two.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That Dumbledore, the first two movies, had the like warm sparkliness. You know what I mean? That I feel like Dumbledore in the books has, where he's just like very calm and even keel and like has the like sparkle quality, And then the Dumbledore moving forward was like a little bit more on edge, a little bit more aggressive. And like there's so many edits on TikTok about him,
Yeah.
And I feel like John Lithgow's going to be more like that.
Yeah.
Which is not my preference. But he's a very talented, very famous actor, so I'm sure it's going to be good. But
And he's American, I think. So that'll be interesting. He'll have an English accent.
That will be interesting.
I have a lot of thoughts actually about how we don't need them to remake Harry Potter as we already know it, and I just wish there were other routes they took and side stories and stuff. So we could get into a whole episode about that. I'm sure we will one day.
Yeah, I would love to.
So this role for him is an 8-year commitment, and he thinks it'll be the last role that he ever plays because he's 79 years old. So he's been like thinking about his mortality a lot with this. I kind of think it's risky. Like, I don't mean to be rude, but like it's kind of risky to cast a 79-year-old in something that you need an 8-year commitment for.
Big time.
Kind of like presidency,
Some would say that at some point you become too old for a long-term, very public role. I don't know.
At some point you might want to retire. But anyway, he's gotten a lot of heat online recently for signing on to Harry Potter because of the J.K. Rowling of it all. So that's actually all over the news right now if you Google this. So far, I personally don't think he's had a great response to the backlash. So fans are really disappointed with him taking this role, and he's just kind of like shrugging his shoulders about it and just like brushing it off, not really addressing it. And I think what is really disappointing fans about it too is that in the movie The World According to Garp, which is a movie that came out in the 80s, he plays a trans woman. And J.K. Rowling just continues to do and say the most horrible things about trans people and like will not shut her mouth.
Yeah.
And will not back down.
Yeah.
So anyway, a lot of fans are really disappointed on social media with John.
That's fair. That makes me feel disappointed in him too. It's hard. It's hard when there's this like beloved story that is so impactful to so many people and their upbringing, and then to like have the creator of that be so garbage publicly, repeatedly, continuously sucks.
And it really taints how you feel about the source material too, which is just so sad because we both were big Harry Potter girls our entire lives. And so you guys will hear us talk about how much we love Harry Potter all the time. It is not because we feel that way about J.K. Rowling.
Yeah, absolutely not. It makes me really disappointed that his response hasn't been appropriate.
I think it would be so easy for him to have a response that's like, I stand with you all. I don't think it's right, you know, or just like, you don't even have to, like, if it's a political thing with like you keeping your role in the movie, you don't even have to like say anything about JK. You could just like
just be very clear about your personal beliefs. I think that would give, not to speak for anybody obviously, but I feel like that would give people more peace about it if he was very open about his thoughts and being supportive of the trans community, which if he played a trans woman, especially in the 80s, he probably is. So it's disappointing.
Yeah, not a fan of how he's handled it so far. But anyway, let's stop talking about him and let's talk about Lord Farquaad just a little bit more before we get into the movie. The character of Lord Farquaad is rumored to be based on Michael Eisner, who's the former CEO of Disney, whom Katzenberg, a former Disney employee, reportedly disliked. And Katzenberg is the CEO, or was the CEO of Dreamworks at the time. Oh my
gosh, that's so funny. He just made like a caricature of his old boss that he hated.
Yes.
That's incredible.
And Farquaad has a hidden meaning. I've never thought about this, but it purposely sounds like fuckwad.
Huh.
Lord Farquaad.
Good for him. Good for Katzenberg for making this happen. I'm just imagining the CEO of Dreamworks, head honcho man, who like is probably intimidating to a lot of the Dreamworks employees, coming into this meeting and being like, this is important to me. We got to get this right, okay? I'm trying to stick it to Michael Eisner. It's so funny.
I also think this happens a lot with people who formerly worked at Disney and then go on to work for its competitors. Because that happened with Anastasia. I remember doing a deep dive on the drama of that in that episode. So I guess that happens a lot.
I think I've said this before, but I highly recommend the docuseries. I think it's called Into the Unknown, The Making of Frozen 2 on Disney+. If you guys have Disney+, they do a really good job of documenting the entire behind-the-scenes process of making an animated movie and like the pressure that they were under to make Frozen 2 as good as Frozen 1 and like getting all the songs right and redoing things about characters and stuff. So if you're interested in the behind-the-scenes of animation, that is a good one to watch.
I would love to watch that, even though I haven't seen Frozen 2.
Honestly, it doesn't matter. You'll like get it because it's enough of really just being about behind the scenes. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm so curious how they even try and make a movie as good as the first one with something like that. And animation just seems hard.
It's very long. It's like years of animating a movie. Anyway, it's very interesting. Okay, should we get into the movie recap?
Let's do it.
So we open on a classic fairy tale book, and someone we can't see reads about a princess who's cursed with a spell that can only be broken by true love's first kiss. She's locked in a tower guarded by a dragon waiting for her prince. But then a page of the story is ripped out by a green ogre hand, and the voice laughs and says, like that's ever gonna happen. And then we hear the toilet flush, and the ogre, this is Shrek, played by Mike Myers, bursts out of the outhouse where he was reading the book, and All Star by Smash Mouth starts playing.
Iconic. A montage shows Shrek living his best solo life in his swamp. He's bathing in mud, brushing his teeth with bug guts, eating eyeballs, you know, the whole deal.
Meanwhile, villagers are plotting to take down the ogre, and they arrive at Shrek's swamp with torches, but they're like kind of scared to be there. You can tell they're on edge. And while they watch Shrek's house from outside and talk about what ogres could do to you, Shrek walks up behind them and laughs, and then he describes in graphic detail what ogres could actually do to someone, making a suit from their skin, squeezing jelly from their eyes, and then he lets out a roar that sends them running away. And he picks up a flyer that they dropped that says, "Wanted, fairy tale creatures," and it offers a reward.
Then we cut to a bunch of fairy tale creatures being turned in by villagers for the reward money. There are dwarves, a witch, Pinocchio, and the 3 bears. Remember the 3 bears because they will come back.
An old woman has a talking donkey, that's Donkey, played by Eddie Murphy, who's almost taken away, but with the accidental help of Tinkerbell's pixie dust, he flies for a second and escapes. An old woman has a talking donkey, that's Donkey, played by Eddie Murphy, and he almost gets away with acting like he can't speak when she's trying to show the guards that he is a fairy tale creature. But then he accidentally gets Tinkerbell's pixie dust dumped on him and he flies for a second and he freaks out and starts talking. So he thinks that he's escaping them by flying, but then he falls out of the air very quickly and he runs through the forest and crashes into Shrek, who intimidates the guards and scares them away. So then Donkey is instantly attached to Shrek and follows him home despite Shrek's protests. Shrek tries to get Donkey to go away, but he sings, he does his song, the I'm All Alone song. I can't even say it because I feel like
I'm all alone.
Yes. I love Donkey's songs throughout the whole movie. It's one of the best parts.
Me too. I just think everyone always remembers but you gotta have friends.
Yeah. So good.
So our generation knows that song from this movie, but it's a real song from Bette Midler, aka Winifred, who's the redhead in Hocus Pocus.
Whoa.
The song is called Friends, and it is from 1972.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to play this in the car tomorrow and see if Brian notices that it's the Shrek song.
Wait, yeah, you should. That's a great idea. Actually, all of us should try that on people.
Should. Yeah.
Also, Megan just mentioned Tinkerbell's pixie dust. In this scene, there's a funny little Easter egg. Peter Pan is the one trying to sell Tinkerbell, which I never noticed before. I have
never caught that. Oh, I need to go back and watch. That's funny.
And I think you probably caught this, but Geppetto is the one who's trying to sell Pinocchio.
Traitor.
Donkey invites himself to sleep over at Shrek's and says the iconic line, "We can stay up late, swapping manly stories, and in the morning, I'm making waffles." Which everyone at Red Rocks, when we went to see this movie, all 8,000 plus people said this in unison, and it was wonderful. I actually have it on video.
Do you? Oh my gosh, we should post it. Yeah, we should post it.
We should. This is all way too much for Shrek, so he kicks Donkey outside to sleep.
That night, Shrek tries to eat dinner in peace, and Donkey is camped outside. And then there's a skittering in the house, and so Shrek goes to check it out and finds 3 blind mice in his house. And then Snow White, asleep in her casket, is pushed onto his dining table, and the big bad wolf is in his bed. And when Shrek tries to kick them all out, he finds a giant group of fairy tale creatures is camping in his swamp.
So back to the 3 bears that I told you not to forget about. The 3 bears from the beginning are now just 2 bears, the papa and baby bear, and they're sitting by the campfire sobbing and holding each other. Isn't that sad?
Yeah, Mom is gone.
More to come there also.
Pinocchio and the 3 little pigs tell Shrek that Lord Farquaad evicted them and they have nowhere else to go. Furious, Shrek heads to find Farquaad to demand answers, and Donkey tags along because he's the only one who knows where Farquaad is. The fairy tale creatures all think that Shrek is their savior because he's going to demand that they get sent back to where they came from. Shrek hates this, obviously.
Then we meet Lord Farquaad, played by John Lithgow, and find out that he's very short. I love how they show us this.
Mm-hmm.
He tortures the gingerbread man, and then his henchmen bring in a magic mirror, and Farquaad asks if this is the fairest kingdom of them all. But the mirror says technically it's not a kingdom, because he's not a king. Farquaad gets kind of mad about this, and one of his henchmen breaks a mirror to show Magic Mirror what he could do to him. And so then Magic Mirror gets scared and kind of covers, and he says he can be a king if he marries a princess. And then he turns into this dating show and shows 3 eligible bachelorettes, Cinderella, Snow White, and Fiona, a princess who lives in a tower surrounded by lava and guarded by a dragon.
The henchmen all cheer for the bachelorette that they think he should pick, and Farquaad kind of arbitrarily ends up choosing number 3, Fiona. And the mirror tries to tell him a little bit about the thing that happens at night, but Farquaad interrupts and silences the mirror. Farquaad decides to host a tournament to determine which knight will go rescue the princess.
Shrek and Donkey arrive in Duloc, where Farquaad rules. It's very clean, sterile, and empty. Donkey triggers a creepy Welcome to Duloc puppet show that sings rules to keep Duloc a perfect place, like, please stay off of the grass, shine your shoes, wipe your face. Another favorite. Duloc is actually a parody of Disneyland, and the puppet show is based on the It's a Small World ride. And it kind of all goes back to the idea that Farquaad is based on Michael Eisner.
This makes so much sense.
Yeah, although if that's not true, I mean, there are so many Disney characters in this movie that it all kind of makes sense.
Definitely. Then Shrek and Donkey stumble into the night tournament that's being hosted by Lord Farquaad, and Farquaad changes the rules of the tournament and says the knight that kills Shrek will be the winner. Shrek easily beats up every knight there, while bad reputation plays. And since Shrek is the last one standing, Farquaad offers Shrek a deal. Rescue Princess Fiona from the dragon-guarded tower, and Shrek can have his swamp back, free from the fairy tale creatures.
So Shrek obviously agrees to this. And on their quest, Shrek tells Donkey there's more to ogres than a lot of people think. He says ogres are like onions. Donkey says, they're stinky? Or they make you cry? Shrek says, no, onions have layers, and ogres have layers. Donkey says, you know, not everybody likes onions. Everybody likes cakes. Cakes have layers. And Shrek says he doesn't care and that ogres are not like cakes. So we're starting to see there's like this soft side to Shrek that nobody really understands, and he's trying to tell Donkey about it, but he can't quite. Megan, you know what else has layers?
What?
Podcast algorithms.
Say more right now.
If you're enjoying this episode, please leave us a 5-star rating wherever you listen to podcasts. It takes 2 seconds, and it'll help the podcast algorithms recommend our show to people who'd like it.
Brilliant. Perfect. No notes.
Just like an onion.
Just like an onion or a cake. So everybody likes cakes.
Or a parfait. Everybody loves parfaits too.
So true. So true.
As Donkey would say.
After a long trek, Shrek and Donkey arrive at the tower surrounded by lava on top of a volcano. There's a rickety bridge over the lava that they have to cross, and Donkey freaks out because he's afraid of heights. Shrek swings the bridge back and forth to scare Donkey into backing up across the whole bridge to the other side. And then when he's safely across, he says, "That'll do, Donkey, that'll do." My dad quotes this like once a week.
Honestly, fair.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many good quotes in this movie that I could have written down basically every single quote, every piece of dialogue in this movie, and everyone would be like, oh yeah, I love that quote. But we just simply don't have time.
Mm-mm.
But even as we're going through it, I'm like, don't look down, don't look down. I'm looking down.
It makes me think of the comment we got. I can't remember if it was a comment or a review or a message after the She's the Man episode where somebody said, you missed so many of the iconic lines, which is all of them.
Which is so relatable.
It's true. It's accurate. All iconic. Same with this one. All iconic lines.
Yes. In the rundown tower, Shrek and Donkey can see the remnants of past knights who tried and failed to rescue the princess. Donkey and Shrek fight the dragon together until Shrek is launched into Fiona's tower. Donkey is alone and scared, but when he starts complimenting the dragon, it's very flattered. And he finds out it's a girl dragon. He flirts his way out of being eaten, but the dragon kidnaps him.
At the same time, Shrek in his knight's armor finds Fiona fake sleeping and waiting for true love's first kiss. Shrek shakes her awake and grabs her, and as they leave the tower, they hear the dragon, and Fiona says, "You didn't slay the dragon?" And he says, "It's on my to-do list." Fiona protests because she wants poetry and a dramatic sweep from the tower like in the stories.
And she's not gonna get it.
Mm-mm.
Shrek finds Donkey in the treasure room, sweet-talking dragon to stay alive. Shrek swings in on a chain and rescues Donkey, and the chandelier falls on Dragon's head, becoming a collar. Dragon is furious and chases them, while Shrek runs carrying both Fiona and Donkey, until Dragon's chain runs out and she can't chase them any longer, and then they escape.
Fiona is so excited to have been rescued and asks Shrek to remove his helmet so she can see him and kiss him. Fiona insists that Shrek is her true love, which makes Shrek and Donkey just like keel over laughing. And Fiona gets angry because she's very serious about this, and she yells at Shrek to remove the helmet now. So he does, and when she sees that he's an ogre, she looks disappointed and kind of disgusted. And she says this is all wrong, and he's not supposed to be an ogre.
Then Shrek tells her that Farquaad is the one who sent him and wants to marry her. She says if Farquaad wants to marry her, he'll have to come get her. But Shrek hoists her over his shoulder and carries her until she gives up the fight.
While they're on the journey, Fiona freaks out when she finds out that they're not planning on stopping for the night, and she forces them to make camp. They find a cave and Fiona rushes into it and doesn't let them in. And then Donkey and Shrek stargaze by the campfire, and Shrek talks about building a wall around his swamp when he gets back. Donkey tries to dig into Shrek's layers, and Shrek says that the world has a problem with him, and people judge him before they even know him, and that's why he's better off alone. Donkey tells him that he didn't see Shrek as an ugly ogre when he met him, and Shrek says, "Yeah, I know." And then Fiona peeks out and overhears this conversation, but we can't really see her.
Although now it's like so obvious, but when I was a kid, not obvious at all.
No idea.
No idea. Back in Duloc, we see that wedding preparations have started. Farquaad is in bed getting the magic mirror to show him Fiona over and over again. The magic mirror is disgusted, but has to show him Fiona. And I'm going to ruin a lot of people's childhoods right here. So I'm so sorry in advance, but I feel like I just have to share. It's really gross, but Farquaad... I can't believe I'm saying this out loud. Did you ever think you would say Farquaad gets an erection?
Publicly? No.
Publicly?
Forever?
Farquaad gets an erection in this scene, and he gets embarrassed, and he pulls up the blanket so the mirror doesn't see.
I can so vividly picture him pulling up the blanket, but I did not know that this is why, and that makes me upset.
It's very subtle. It's very easy to miss, and you're going to wish that you had missed it the next time you watch it.
Thanks a lot.
I know. Sorry. Here's another fun fact, though. In Farquaad's room, there's a bear pelt rug that has a pink bow and tongue sticking out, and it's Mama Bear.
I never noticed this. Aww.
I know. That's why the two bears were crying. They lost their Mama Bear, and Farquaad made her a rug.
What an asshole.
I know. He's the worst.
Him.
Justice for Mama Bear.
Yeah. Anyway. Another dark scene. On to another dark scene.
I feel like those were two like wildly out of pocket fun facts. So sorry.
Okay, we needed to cover them.
By the way, Shrek is my most watched movie of the past year. Did you know that?
I did not know that. I believe that though. Absolutely.
I've watched it 3 times now, so now it is my most watched movie.
Number 1. The next morning, Fiona sings in the meadow to a bird and it copies her notes. And then when she goes really high, the bird explodes. This bothers me deeply, okay? Deeply.
Agreed.
I hate it. And then Fiona cooks up the bird's eggs for breakfast. This is like really actually... I feel like the writers of this movie were just like, how dark can we make it where it's still child appropriate? But it's at least funny enough that like the parents will watch it anyway.
Yeah. I need you to rank them. What's worse? Farquaad's erection, Mama Bear's pelt, or the bird exploding?
I mean, the erection is the worst, but I feel like I noticed the bird because I didn't even notice the other two things.
Yeah. The bird is the one that traumatized me as a child.
Unfortunately, I will have to put Mama Bear third, which is actually, I think, the saddest.
That feels wrong.
It feels wrong. They're all just bad. They're all number 1.
All right, guys, you know what to leave in the Spotify comments.
Actually, yes. Actually, you need some backup. How would you rank?
All the Spotify comments are like Farquaad's erection. And then someone goes to the episode, they're like, well, what is this about? Anyway,
Fiona cooks the bird's eggs for breakfast. And she says she's sorry that they got off to a bad start yesterday after Shrek and Donkey rescued her.
On the way to Duloc, Shrek and Fiona both burp, and he says she's not what he expected. She says, maybe you shouldn't judge people before you get to know them. And this surprises Shrek because remember, he was just talking about this with Donkey.
Then a guy in green comes out of nowhere to rescue Fiona from the ogre. Fiona smacks him and says, "Look, pal, I don't know who you think you are." And then he says he'll introduce himself. And he calls, "Oh, merry men." And a bunch of men come out of the forest to perform with him. He's Robin Hood.
They all have Lord Farquaad hair.
You're right.
I do think that the song is really funny when you're an adult listening back to it, and I just have to read 2 lines from it. Robin Hood says, "I like an honest fight and a saucy little maid." And the merry men say, what he's basically saying is he likes to get, and Robin Hood jumps in and says, "Paid."
I've never caught that either.
I think I caught that when we saw it at Red Rocks, and I was dying.
That's really funny.
So anyway, while they're singing, Fiona flies through the air and attacks Robin Hood, saying, "Man, that was annoying." She does a ton of backflips and beats up all the guys on her own, including a scene where she jumps and freezes in the air, like in Ella Enchanted, before kicking 2 guys. Donkey and Shrek's jaws are on the floor after this because she basically took them all out single-handedly, and she says she learned it because she lived alone. And then she notices that there's an arrow in Shrek's butt.
Donkey freaks out at this, and Fiona sends him into the woods to find a blue flower with red thorns to keep him busy. While Fiona struggles to get the arrow out, she accidentally lands on top of Shrek, and they have this, like, their first moment together, you know? And Donkey comes back to them like this, and while Shrek is trying to explain himself, Fiona finally rips the arrow out of his butt because he's distracted.
Fiona and Shrek have a new bond through the rest of the journey. They're both gross together. Fiona turns a spider web into cotton candy for Shrek. Another thing that traumatized me as a child is that he makes her a balloon out of a frog and she makes him a balloon out of a snake. And they're both very into each other.
That afternoon, they're close to Duloc, but Fiona makes up an excuse that she's worried about Donkey, and Shrek catches on that she's stalling so they can have more time. So they decide to camp and they eat weed rats, and Shrek wants to tell Fiona how he feels about her, but he chickens out. Then Donkey mentions the sunset, and Fiona freaks out and goes into the shelter they found for the night.
Donkey tells Shrek to go in there and tell her how he feels. But Shrek gets sad that she's a princess and he's an ogre, and leaves to go sit by himself for a while. Donkey goes into the shelter to talk to Fiona, but finds her as an ogre. Shocking to me as a kid. Plot twist. She confesses that a curse turns her into an ogre at night, and it can only be broken by true love's first kiss, where she'll take true love's form. Donkey is shocked but understanding.
Shrek comes back with a sunflower, planning to tell Fiona that he likes her, but overhears her talking to Donkey and misinterprets it. He thinks she's disgusted by him, not realizing she's talking about herself. So he's hurt and leaves before he even talks to her.
The next morning, Fiona decides to tell Shrek about her secret. But just as she goes outside, the sun comes out and she turns back into a human. Shrek shows up in a fury and doesn't listen to Fiona. He says he heard what she said last night and agrees with, "Who could love a hideous, ugly beast?" She says, "I thought that wouldn't matter to you." And he says that it does. And so they're both obviously misinterpreting each other now, which is so sad and frustrating.
Then we see who Shrek went to get overnight. Farquaad and his men show up on horseback to get Fiona. Fiona is surprised when he's lifted from his horse and she finds out that he's very short. And Farquaad proposes to her and she just looks at Shrek. Both of them give each other these hurt looks, and then she says yes and asks if they can get married today before sunset. We know that this is so he won't find out her secret.
Donkey tries to step in and explain that there's something that Shrek doesn't know about Fiona, but Shrek doesn't listen and tells Donkey he's not coming home with him. He hurts Donkey's feelings, and the two go their separate ways.
Hallelujah plays, and we see Shrek return to his empty swamp, sad. Fiona is upset while getting ready for the wedding, and Donkey sees Dragon crying by a lake, and they reconnect.
Donkey then confronts Shrek at his swamp and builds a wall. He says he did half the work rescuing the princess, so he should get half the swamp. Donkey calls him selfish and mean. Shrek says, "If I treated you so bad, how come you came back?" And Donkey says, "Because that's what friends do. They forgive each other." Shrek says, "I forgive you for stabbing me in the back."
Donkey calls Shrek out for being emotionally walled off and says that Fiona loves him. Donkey tells Shrek that Fiona wasn't talking about him last night, but won't tell him who she was talking about, which obviously makes Shrek soften. and they make up and decide to stop Fiona's wedding together. But to get there in time, they need a little help.
Donkey whistles and calls Dragon, who takes them to Duloc. They make it to Duloc just as the ceremony is underway. Fiona is watching the sunset and panicking, trying to hurry things up. Donkey tells Shrek to wait for the line, "Speak now or forever hold your peace." But Shrek misses it and bursts in right as they're about to kiss.
Shrek tells Fiona that Farquaad isn't her true love. Farquaad and the cathedral make fun of Shrek for falling for Fiona, and Fiona asks Shrek if it's true. Farquaad says it doesn't matter and says, "Kiss me, so he'll be king." And as he's doing this, the sun starts setting, and Fiona reveals her ogre form to the entire court. Shrek says, "Well, that explains a lot."
Farquaad orders the guards to banish Fiona back to her tower and execute Shrek. He puts on the crown anyway, saying that marriage is binding, so he's king now. Shrek whistles, and Dragon, with Donkey on her back, crashes through the wall and eats Farquaad whole, burping up his crown. Donkey says, "Celebrity marriages, they never last, do they?"
Shrek tells Fiona he loves her, and they kiss. True love's kiss. And Fiona is lifted into the air by magic like she's transforming, and when she lands, she's still an ogre, because this is her true love's true form. Confused, she asks why she didn't turn human, because she's supposed to be beautiful now, and Shrek tells her she is beautiful, and she believes him.
If you're ever curious what an audience of thousands of people does during this scene, when she says she's supposed to be beautiful, everyone was like, "You are beautiful!" It was so cute. We cut to their swamp wedding. I'm a Believer plays, and all the fairy tale creatures are there. Even the gingerbread man, who has a candy cane now that his leg is missing. Dragon catches the bouquet, and Donkey gets all shy. They're a real couple now. The fairy tale misfits all dance and celebrate, and Shrek and Fiona ride off in an onion carriage. Donkey starts singing the rest of I'm a Believer, and he ends the film laughing so hard he can't breathe. The end.
Yay!
Yay!
I love this ending scene. It's so fun.
And I feel like even if I hadn't rewatched the movie, just going through this recap, I would be able to picture every scene exactly as it happens. I'm sure you guys could too. It's just so iconic. This is easy to miss, but in this scene, the 3 blind mice are turned into 2 horses and a driver for the onion carriage. But then the mice are back dancing at the end when everyone's dancing. So it could be an error, or they could just be like, whatever, it's magic, who cares?
Interesting.
And then I thought this was cool too. Originally, All Star by Smash Mouth playing at the beginning of the movie was actually just a placeholder. But the CEO of Dreamworks, Katzenberg, who we talked about already, suggested that they keep the song. The original ending of the movie had just the storybook closing over Shrek and Fiona as they rolled off in the carriage, but Katzenberg suggested that they go out with a laugh, so they added all of the fairy tale creatures and Smash Mouth's I'm a Believer, and so that's why the movie starts and ends with Smash Mouth songs.
I love it. I feel like the music makes this whole movie even more iconic. It's amazing.
I can't hear those songs without thinking of Shrek.
Yep.
That's actually probably how I know the songs.
Yeah, same. Great additions. Okay, let's talk about the fact that there are 4 Shrek movies, please.
Yes, there's 4 Shrek movies currently. 2 spin-off movies with Puss in Boots, who shows up in Shrek 2. I forgot about him. There's a Halloween special called Scared Shrekless, and a Christmas special called Shrek the Halls, which actually I think I've seen Shrek the Halls, and I want to say it was pretty cute. It's also a Broadway musical. So many, many things have happened with Shrek.
So many things. Shrek
5 is in production now, and it will come out in July 2026, and it will star Zendaya.
My mouth is open.
Zendaya is going to be the voice of Shrek and Fiona's daughter, who's, I think, a teenager in this movie.
Oh my gosh. I can't wait. Wait, I'm so excited now. That's so cute.
She was like, do we need a Shrek 5? And then she was like, wait, Zendaya.
Yeah, that was what happened.
Honestly, fair.
That's going to be cute. Oh, I actually want to see it.
I feel like the 4th one is the only one I haven't seen, so I should probably go back.
I've seen 3 through 5. I probably have.
Maybe I haven't seen the 3rd one either. I can't remember it.
I guess I have, because is that where they have the babies?
Oh, I think 3 is babies, yeah.
Okay. Not in a really long time, though. I did tell Brian that we were recording Shrek, and he goes, ooh, are you doing the best one?
Shrek 2. He thinks Shrek 2 is the best one.
He was thinking of Shrek 2, yes. He's
I knew
like,
it.
the one with all the characters. I was like,
what do you mean?
Talking about the second one? He's like, duh. I was like, okay. So the second one is good. I love a sequel. So if you guys want us to talk about the second one, let us know.
Honestly, I don't think our Shrek journey is over.
We could make a Shrek podcast, truly.
I think this was the most explicit episode in a while.
Yeah, probably.
Or dark.
Probably. Which, what does that say about our podcast?
I don't know.
It's not every day we get to talk about an animated erection,
True.
Well, thank you guys
Okay.
Bye.
That just makes me think about how there was like an artist strike in the 90s or early 2000s. I can't remember. And a lot of Disney movies from that time and from us growing up have hidden subliminal sexual messages that are like really bad that they're in there. But it was because the artists were mad. So it might be interesting to cover that one day.
Yeah, I would love to talk about that. I've always known that to be true about a lot of animated movies, but I have never like looked through and found them or researched it, and I would love to.
I've got a couple off the top of my head just to plant the seed. The Rescuers, The Little Mermaid, The Lion King.
Wow. We should do an episode on it.
It's a special interest, I suppose.
Anyway, thank you guys so much for listening.
We really had fun with this episode, and we're so glad that you stuck around to the end.
And we'll talk to you next time.
Bye.
Bye.